All right, y'all. I'm going to command your attention for a few moments. I'd love to kind of kick things off. Feel free if you want more food or for some reason if you didn't grab cake, help yourself. Save me a piece, though. And y'all, welcome. I mentioned this before. My name is Milad. I work for Doulos Partners. I've met a bunch of you beforehand, and the rest of you that I met today. We're so grateful that you guys are taking the time out of your day to be here. This is an exciting day for me. So I joined staff here, about a year ago, and I was blown away by what Doulos was and the scope of work that God had given Doulos the lane Doulos to be in. And so as some of this stuff I didn't learn that long ago, but my family and I, we've moved to Birmingham. We're all in, and we have been really directed to help rally other believers into God's movement of putting a church in every village on the planet. And so we've got a bunch of information for you guys to hear about this. And I'm really excited that the church is in this room today. I think anytime we gather like this, God's glorified. I'm also telling this to people who tell everyone else this every Sunday. And so you guys kind of know, you guys do know the truth and what it means and how pleasing it is to the Lord when we are together in the same room like this. And so there is a couple things. There's an annual report in front of you. There's no way you're going to be able to just let it sit there. You're going to start skimming through it. I know it. We don't have to pretend. And so feel free to comb through that as you are going through lunch today. One of the things I would say, though, Bethany spent a lot of time putting those together. And if you're going to do it justice, like even if it takes you a week from now, just brew a pot of coffee in the morning at some point and give yourselves 20 minutes to really go through page by page. I promise you will not regret it. It is not, that time will not be spent in vain. And so what I'd love to do is I'm just going to kind of draw your attention here to a video we have. It's going to help set the tone, and we'll get into the rest of our presentation. So also just housekeeping thing, if you guys need to use the bathroom, the men's and women's bathroom is just through the hallway down here before the gas pumps. It will make sense when you're there. It's relative. So, all right. Hey, let's go ahead and we'll start the film.
What can happen when God's people move as one? When God's people pray as one? When hearts align, when voices rise together, what can happen? One mission. Father, keep us centered at the cross. Let this be our singular mission. The Messiah will be crucified and rise from the dead on the third day. Repentance for the forgiveness of sins will be preached in his name to all nations. Lord, guard us from drifting. Guard us from building our own names. Fix our eyes on the crucified and risen Christ. Make us a people of one mission. One focus. God, keep us from distraction. You said every tribe, every tongue, every nation, and that means every person in every village should have the chance to hear this breathtaking, earth-shattering good news. When complexity tempts us to scatter, when strategy threatens to overshadow surrender, bring us back to every. Give us one focus. One future. Lord, remind us where this is all going. Where we go together. The path we walk together. And so we march and stumble our way toward the future we are all living for. I looked, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, tribe, people, and language, standing before the throne and before the Lamb. They were wearing white robes and were holding palm branches in their hands. Our future is guaranteed. It will come to pass. So we pray toward one future with confidence. One calling. We quiet ourselves before you. We put our ear down to the rustling pages of Scripture. Let our calling come from your word alone. Call us again. Call us deeper. Call us beyond comfort. May every yes in this room weave together into one greater obedience as we pursue one calling. One cry. Now, Lord, hear us. With lifted hands and lifted voices, let our cries rise to your throne. Save, Lord. Move, Lord. Heal, Lord. Send, Lord. One more nation, one more village, one more church. We refuse to rely on our strength. We refuse to fuel this movement with self-effort. Let it be powered by prayer. Let it be sustained by surrender. Let it advance because your people are on their knees with one cry. One church. There's one body and one spirit, one hope, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of us all. Lord, make that real among us. No time for disunity, no time for backbiting and squabbling, no energy for comparison. Bind us together, not around preference, not around platform, but around you. Make us one church, going after one mission together. One mission, one focus, one future, one calling, one cry, one church. One. So what can happen when God's people move as one? Well, by your Spirit, the entire world can be turned upside down. Amen.
Y'all, last year we had all of our church partners collectively. We were able to plant. God chose to plant 1,200 churches with that collective, and this is kind of why we've asked you guys to gather today. If you haven't put that together yet, and so what I'd love to do, I kind of told you where our focus is, but it'd be really important, I think, for you to understand how Doulos functions. And so I get the privilege to ask my best friend and our president, and he'll love this part, our future CEO, to come explain what Doulos is and get you guys on board. So, can we applaud for Brian?
Hey, thank you guys for your time. Our development team came up with the idea of doing the church-to-church initiative. I found out there was going to be a bunch of pastors in a room, and they were like, "And then Brian, we want you to speak." And I was like, "Oh, that's great. You want me to speak to professional communicators?" So I'm really excited to be here, and I'm so thankful. I know your time is really valuable. And so I get the privilege of telling you a little bit about how Doulos works. And I want to start where it all begins. And some of you know my dad, David Johnson, that started this. And if you ask Dad, "Hey, tell me how Doulos started," he'd back up 18 years and talk about how the Lord woke him up one night with an idea of how to reach the nations. I think that's a little short. Doulos is created. I think Doulos was created 2,000 years ago. 2,000 years ago is where it started. Jesus' final words to his people his followers were that you will be my witnesses. His final words to his people were, hey, you're going to be my witnesses. I need you to go tell everybody about what I've just done to rescue humanity. That's what I need you to do. And he said, and then he gave us some very specific locations. Anybody want to repeat it? Where did he say we're supposed to go? And to the ends of the earth. Very specific. And to you all, and that mission has never changed for the church. For 2,000 years, that is still our mission. And in fact, you all have given your lives to a portion of this mission, if not the whole thing. Your churches are functioning within this command of telling others about the greatest news that's been told inside of Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. And this is what we've been at. The church at large has been at this for 2,000 years. We live in a really interesting time in the church. And that is something dramatically around the Great Commission has changed. Something that has dramatically changed since missionaries were able to go overseas. And so we were able to get on a boat, whatever it is, something dramatically has changed. And it surrounds our ability to see where the mission has not yet been fulfilled. So Doulos Partners, our mission statement is that we exist to empower the indigenous believer to take the gospel further and faster to the ends of the earth. What wakes us up in the morning. And who we are is really birthed out of that. You see, Doulos functions as a gospel investment firm that we're absolutely committed to seeing the whole world have access to the best news that's ever been told. In 18 years, we've invested roughly $70 million into large, serious-minded, absolutely committed sending agencies that empower the indigenous. We are in 208 of the roughly argued 215 countries and territories in the world. Our partners are functioning within 208 of those countries. We're also in all 66 of the 1040 window countries, all 66 of them. Right now, there are men and women that are crouched in a hut or a basement, hoping like heck that they don't get discovered as they read their Bibles, while we're here talking about them and trying to support them. That's what Doulos has been doing. That means we get to Doulos comes alongside those already on the ground and help strengthen, support, and accelerate their work. We believe that the best, finest way to do this work, this gospel access work, is through the indigenous. Men and women who already know the language, right? They already know the culture. They know the spiritual strongholds, and they feel a passion for their own countrymen like we could never. We love Western missionaries. We honor that work deeply. They're some of our friends. But the lane that Doulos has been given to run in is to come alongside the indigenous leaders, help them reach their own people for the gospel, and we believe that way is faster, deeper, and far more sustainable than an outsider could ever be. Why does this matter for us? Here's the reality that the church is facing today. There are 8 billion people on the planet. And if you do any research into the missiology space, well, you're gonna hear me say the word missiology a lot. It's just basically a term for people who are going and spending their efforts overseas to bring the gospel. Missiology, whether you're talking about the Joshua Project or some of these, the agreed upon number is around 3 billion people who have never heard the gospel even once. They've not rejected it. They've not walked away from it. They have never had the ability to respond. And at the same time, the world is growing at an incredible rate in population. Every single day, there are tons of outlets you can find here. Every single day, hundreds of thousands of people are born into the world, and that outpaces the amount of people that are dying, right? So the population's growing, the work is important, and that's what we're trying to combat. So while the church is advancing, the gap is still growing in many of these unreached places that don't have the gospel. Now, here's the hook. For the first time in the history of the world, the places where the gospel is not is no longer theoretical. We can tell you where the gospel is not. It's visible, it's measurable, and for the first time ever, there is a collision that's happened in the last couple of years, and it's between technology and collaboration of the church. They exist, these two things have collided and are giving us information that for the first time in history, we know where the gospel is, but way more importantly, we have an idea of where the gospel is not, okay? So what makes what Doulos does different? Like how are things different for what we do than what are other organizations? There's a lot of great ministries doing incredible work all around the world. But what makes us unique is not only what we support or how much we support, but how we steward the support into gospel access in the world. Like I said before, we're a gospel access investment firm. We work like a resourcing agency to large sending agencies. We partner with 7 of the leading missiologists, sending agencies on the planet. Those 7 agencies that we work with do roughly a combined $250 million a year into gospel access into the world. These are the best of the best of the best. So ultimately, Doulos gets to help direct resources from the body of Christ, right? The body of Christ being churches, individuals who are wanting to invest their families' resources, individuals who want to invest their businesses' resources, and foundations that are investing others' money. That we take those resources and then we direct those to the leading missiology organizations in the world that affects the greatest gospel access impact. And we do that work with our partners through a few commitments that are really important for us. The first commitment with our partners is a deep vetting process. We take partnership extremely serious. Over the life of our ministry, we have had thousands and thousands of partner requests. People find out what we do and go, well, we need resources, and they start hitting us up. There's been thousands. We have said yes to 9, and currently 7. We have 7 partners. So the vetting process that Doulos does, you have to be the best of the best for us to invest what we think is incredibly valuable resources that are limited into gospel access, right? Every partner is evaluated as we decide who to partner with, and as we ongo our vetting process. There's 3 R's. You know, my dad was a pastor for forever, and so we don't do anything that doesn't look like it could go on a church bulletin. So we have 3 R's of how we handle these multi-million-dollar sending agencies. And that is reputation, reporting, and then relationship. As we look at these sending agencies, the first one is reputation. Do you have a stellar reputation in the missiology space? Does everybody agree that you do everything you can possibly do to be above board and do things the right way? And are you making a huge movement in the world? That's our first one. The second one is reporting. We love reporting, right? Can you prove what you're saying is happening in the field on paper? Can you show us what it is that you're doing, and can it be verified? Just because you put it on a piece of paper, can us as an organization verify that you're using those resources like you say you are? And then, can it be verified into the field? Can we go and see your philosophy of gospel access to the nations, is it cohesive to what you're saying as to what's happening in the field? And then the third R is relationship. Can we walk together in unity for a long period of time? Can the relationship can this be strengthened as we help support the work overseas and domestically? Can we trust you? Because this is where because of the investment firm we have a lot of people that are investing serious resources, and they want to know, how can I trust these numbers? And we have a lot of processes in place that will help you get to that. But at the end of the day, there will be gaps because we're all wanting first world reporting in a third world context. And these guys, these organizations are the best in the world, but there are gaps. And so we say all the time, it's really difficult to get a receipt for a rickshaw ride. Like they're not going to give, who's going to give you that? Most of the hotels we stay in overseas won't give us a receipt. So we take the best of the best, but there has to come to a point to where we can trust the people we're investing with in the gaps of reporting from a first world to a third world context. And stewardship is not just about generosity for us, it's about faithfulness. The second mark for us is ongoing accountability. This is not a decision for a one-time vetting process with our partners. We don't just partner and walk away. We stay engaged, we go to the field, we ask hard questions, and then we verify what's happening. Doulos goes to the field every year with every single partner. This is an ongoing stroll because we believe that accountability is one of our acts of worship. And we will one day absolutely give an account for the money how we stewarded that of what God entrusted it to us. And then the third one is radical stewardship. This is one of the most unique aspects of Doulos. It's the one that I love to hear in development. When we get to this part, people's eyes widen. And it's because of a group of committed investors who invest money into Doulos. They cover all of our administrative costs. So when we sit in front of donors and foundations and churches and go, hey, if you'll invest into gospel access into the world, not only is it needed, but 100% of your money will hit the field, right? Not a percentage of it, not most of it. Every dollar that you give will be given through Doulos into the field. And our ministry partners have agreed that they don't take administrative costs out of Doulos money. Every dollar of Doulos money goes to the field. They've actually gone a step further and they've all signed an MOU that said, hey, we so believe in what Doulos is doing, we promise we are not going to take any administrative fees off this at all. So when you're sitting across in a coffee shop or sitting with someone and you tell them this, they're like, that doesn't exist anywhere. How does that function? And so it's because of our investors that take care of our administrative costs. So what's given goes directly to the gospel work on the ground. And that level of clarity and impact is really rare. And it allows people to give with confidence and trust. So here's the shift. For many years, the global church had a limitation. Churches and gospel access sending agencies could only see what their individual gospel process was accomplishing, but could not see the mission space of in the field, the whole mission space. Doulos was wrapped up into that. We were so excited to plant churches and see professions of faith, and we knew that there was good work happening, and we were ecstatic to be a part of it. But that's the end of it. We were celebrating churches planted and professions of faith, but we had no idea how to quantify the world. We were celebrating them, but we just had no idea. We couldn't see the whole field, right? We knew people were coming to Christ, but we didn't know if we were gaining ground globally or losing it. And then a few years ago, everything changed. Everything changed. With new mapping technology, we can now see the mission field down to the village level. Not just countries, not resources, villages. How? The technology of iShare and the collaboration of 30 major sending agencies in the world coming together under the name, the Coalition of the Willing. These 30 folks have decided that they could not accomplish the Great Commission on their own, and that they needed to come together and do it together. And they had a tool called iShare that got developed. iShare is a mapping tool that was developed by this company, this tech company called M28 Global. And it has mapped the world all the way to the village polygon level. And Doulos has invested in the last 3 to 5 years, has invested 7 figures into this because we believe that this tool is so important. This tool uses open sourced satellite data from the private sector. It uses AI, and then it also uses our own country's DoD open source satellite information that's available. This company has created a tool that is unbelievable. And this company is so bought out to this tool, they recently got a bid from Nike to do some work for them, and they told Nike no. I know the president of M28 Global, and he said, this is the most important work that there is to do on the planet, and we don't have time to spend to make a bunch of money with Nike. We believe in this. But as incredible as this tool is, no one agency can tackle the world by themselves, and they know it. This group of sending agencies have created the collaboration, the Coalition of the Willing, and it is comprised of the 30 of the world's top missiologists on the planet. And they've agreed that gospel access is actually losing ground. If you were to go into your churches today and just pick one person that goes to your church and says, how do you think like the missiology space is? How do you think the gospel's doing in the world? Is it gaining ground or losing it? Majority of us, because we're Americans and we think we win at everything, are going, well, yeah, we've put in a lot of money towards missions. This is working. The top sending agencies, including the IMB and the AOG, those guys have a hard time agreeing on anything. But that, by George, they recognize what's happening in the world, and that on their own, they're losing ground. And so they've come together. They've checked their egos and their logos at the door and have decided if they band together to make sure the whole world has access, this is the only way this is going to happen. The church, that's it. The only thing Jesus himself said that the gates of hell wouldn't stand against is the church. And the COTW plan is really simple. So let me show you a little bit here. You'll hear this a lot from Doulos, and that is our goal of Doulos, is a church in every village everywhere. That's what Achieve is. And the COTW and Doulos have banded together to decide we want to see a church in every village everywhere, because that's how to fix the gospel access problem that we have. So you're seeing a snapshot of the tool that all 30 of these sending agencies are using. And basically what's happened is we've polygoned down to the village level every place on the planet that people live. There's roughly 10 million villages on the planet. When you think about the Great Commission and every man, woman, and child hearing the gospel and having the chance to respond, there's nobody in the world that can quantify that kind of a size and scope. But what we can quantify is the news, is the access for them to be able to have to the gospel in their village. So what this tool does is it gives us a map of the whole world. This is a small map. I'm not telling you which country this is, but this is part of a country, and it gives the church planters a tool, and it's really simple. There's white villages, there's red villages, there's yellow villages, and there's green villages. A church planter, they have to band together, the organizations, and they are going to go into every village on the planet. And they're going to ask 2 diagnostic questions. Are there any churches in this village? Are there any believers in this village? And are there any churches? All right. The worst color for the COTW right now is white, because it's no data. If they see on iShare that a village is white, We don't know if the church is there. We don't know if there are believers there. We have no data. But once we go into a village and ask one of the two diagnostic questions, we know to change it a color. If there are no Christians and no church, we turn it red. If there are Christians but no church, we turn it yellow. If there are Christians and a church, we turn it green. Now the church actually has a tool that we can know where to go. If you spend any time with some of these missiology agencies, you find that they're going across the planet like this. They're in the same town and they don't even know it. There's no collaboration. This is the answer. This tool, for example, this is the country of Togo. Does anybody know what country, what continent Togo's in? Africa, okay? Togo now has officially been completely mapped. It's one of the first countries ever that we have full data in Togo. Now we have a whole bunch of missiologists crouched together with maps going, how are we going to turn this whole country's village level green? How do we get a church in every planet? Because we can't conceptualize every man, woman, and child hearing about God, but we sure can conceptualize whether the church is in every village on the planet. So there's a group of people right now that are huddled over this map going, who do you know here? 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 This village is really close to this one. Is there any way we can get these people to do work? We have a plan for gospel access into the world. For the first time in the history of the planet. So the answer has become simple. Our goal isn't just evangelism. It isn't discipleship. It's not even church planting. Our goal is this: a healthy, sustainable, reproducing church everywhere people live. And for the first time ever, the world's top sending agencies think they can get it done in their own lifetime. If they were in this room here, they'll meet a couple times a year and they'll get in this room and they don't agree on everything. There are people that have all kind of different philosophies, but they'll agree on one thing, that if they work together with this plan, they believe that there can be a church in every village on the planet in their lifetime. And it's really exciting to get to hear them talk. And so everything we do, every partnership, every resource, every decision is aimed at seeing a church everywhere people live that there isn't one. And how does it work for us? Functionally, very simple. We identify trusted partners. They're already doing the work. We chose the ones that have global scale, that have decided to join the missiology collaboration, to map where the work is going, and then to use the indigenous to do it. And we track outcomes, not just activity, but actual movement towards a church being established, using gospel proclamation, discipleship, leadership development, scripture access, and practical support that enables the work to move forward. But all of it flows towards one goal, which is a church in every village everywhere. So what does this mean? Pastors, it means that we are living in a moment like no other in history. For the first time, the church can see the task in front of it. We know where the gaps are. We know what it takes. And we know that no one ministry is going to be able to do this alone. No one church is going to be able to do this alone. But in God's plan for his people, doing it together in unity, in stewardship and in obedience, we believe the church has the opportunity to bring gospel access to every place on the planet. And we believe that the Lord's going to do it, and the time is now. Thanks for listening to this. I'm going to bring up, we have an exciting privilege to get to hear from some of our pastors that are part of our church collective now. And so Dad and Milad are coming. Is it just Dad, or are you coming up too, Milad? Just Dad. So Dad's going to bring up some pastors, and we'll hear from them. Yeah, thanks.
Those seats are going to be filled with not only domestic sending agencies, but the excited that I get to invite some guys up that I love dearly and serve with. Chris Bell, why don't you come on up? Chris is the pastor of Three Circle Church down in L.A. in Lower Alabama. And Chris and I have hung out and done a lot of ministry together for the last 25 years. And he didn't have anything gray, and he blames that on me, that hanging out maybe would turn that gray. So anyway, you guys are going to enjoy hearing from Chris. Pastor Kenneth, the pastor here at Westwood, mine and Susan's pastor. We love Pastor Kenneth and appreciate his leadership in our church and the role that he's played as a part of Doulos. Adam Robinson from Double Oak Community Church. Pastor Adam, come up and join us. I'm excited to get to spend some time with these guys and let these guys speak about their missions, strategies, their missions experience, their experience with Doulos. I went back and sort of did a little look back at these three churches and when they started. And so Double Oak Community Church started in 2008, which was actually the year that Doulos started. So they've been a part of the gig for a long time, and we're very appreciative of them. And so thankful for the way that Adam leads, and so appreciate that. And so also went back and looked at Westwood. Westwood started giving to Doulos in 2011. And so been in the game with us for a while as well. And so I'm so thankful for both of these men and their love for Jesus, their love for seeing the gospel go to every person, every place. Chris in Three Circles started giving in 2013. And all of these ministries have given every month since their inception, plus additional investments that they've made through the years for all kinds of things: Bibles, buying mopeds to put on, church planters to give them broader scope, all kinds of ways through humanitarian effort that they've been involved. I did go back and look at this collective, because we're talking about a collective possibility here, and these three churches since inception have given $750,000. And we went back and looked, and our cost per church plant since inception is $240, which means that 3,279 churches have been planted due to the investments of these three churches. I think that's worth celebrating. So very thankful for these guys. And so I've got some questions that I'm going to ask, and I may get all three of you to respond, or I may just get one or two of you to respond about a particular question. And listen, this is just a guide. If you need to jump in on something, please have the freedom to jump in, and I promise you I'll stop you, pastors. Of course, I'm a pastor too, so I don't know how that's going to work. So there are guys in the room, obviously, that's here to do our story for the first time. And I guess my first question is, when you first heard the Doulos story, what compelled you about the story that you wanted to get involved? So, Pastor Chris, I'm going to let you kind of jump in there and take
Awesome.
on that. So,
Well, I remember previous to me going to where I am now, ministry at Three Circle, I heard the story right after you had that God woke you up in the middle of the night moment. And I knew David because he'd been a mentor of mine and a dear friend. And you gave me a call and said, hey, I'm stepping away from my church ministry at Dayspring in Mobile to do this Doulos thing. And number one, I was like, what? This is so David, though. This is one of the most godly men I know. This man walks with the Lord. And so it did not surprise. That's how David talks, is the Lord's leading me to do something. I just love that. And so I got excited because it was you. I didn't even know what you were doing, but whatever David Johnson's doing, I want to be a part of. But then when I started hearing the concept of what you guys do, the indigenous part just makes sense to me. I like things that work. Man, we need urgency. And so we don't have time. The mission is too important to stick with things that don't work. I need horses that run, not ones that lay around, right? And so when I heard that, I thought, my goodness, that's the way to get the gospel faster to people, more effectively through indigenous people. So when I saw that piece, I was so excited.
awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I would add to that. Like as someone who has a great heart for reaching the nations with the gospel, the strategy just makes sense. There were some phrases you used, Dave, early on, which you said that working with the indigenous people, they already have skin in the game. They already know the language, the culture, the relationships. They don't need as much financial support as it would be as if you sent an American to another country. Although I think there is value in that happening. But simultaneously, the way you can reproduce and multiply that even faster, we can gain ground and reach more people with the gospel. It's almost like in a car, you got a Corvette that goes fast. I feel like Doulos just pours NOS into the engine to make it just take off. And that's why I'm just so grateful for the precision and the accuracy of how you all are going after a target, and that is reaching unreached people with the gospel.
That's great. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all that. I mean, I think we would also, we've learned a lot about missions in the last 40, 50 years. I think just talking about indigenous folks leading their fellow countrymen to Christ is just easier. I mean, it's just, that's the way it's always been. What drew me to Doulos, I came in, we had an established relationship already, our church did, when I became pastor. So I was evaluating all of these different things, but it was honestly just hearing the stories from you from the field. Because anybody can come and give you a bunch of stories, we can show videos, we can do those things. It was, is this really working and is this really happening? And knowing that you were there, and you're not showing me just numbers, which you always gave me lots of numbers. I always got those. But you were then telling me the stories. He was like, but I was here. Like when he says, I was in Togo, and he was this, he does that all the time. And that's what these guys at Doulos do. They're not just telling us stories about something that they heard. It was something that they're seeing, that they're vetting this. That was the part that was always the most important for me. It was like, man, when we go to our churches and say, hey, this is where we're investing our missions dollars, we can have confidence of knowing it's actually going to these things because you're there. I know somebody that I trust who's on the ground and has seen it with their own eyes, who's talked to these church planners themselves, not just the leaders of the organization on a phone. Hey, I think something good's happening. You're on the ground and going, this is the story I saw when I was preaching in this church, in this country, and this is what I saw. That was incredibly powerful, and that's what we have heard for over a decade. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah, as a matter of fact, we're getting ready to be in Colombia in just about a week and a half doing just that, and then we're back a week, and then we go to Brazil, and then I know, Brian, right after that, you're going to be in Africa, is that right? Nairobi. Man, I'm telling you, man, we're all over the world, and we do get to see it up close and personal. I would say our Doulos team have been in the field between 250 and 300 times since we started because we want to be there. We want to be a part of seeing people come to Jesus. We want to be training church planters, but it is primarily, first and foremost, a vetting exercise, and so I appreciate that. So this may have a little crossover. If it does, that's okay. Every church, every organization, every ministry, even though we have similarities, we also have distinctives. So what would you say is the distinctive that sort of captures your attention?
I'll jump in right there. I think there's just a laser-like precision on what you all are and what you all are not. Adoption is a very good thing, but that's not the lane that you're running in. And you all have crystal clarity around your mission. But also, man, I got to spend time with you over in Tegucigalpa last year and just seeing, like, these are real stories, real people, not just made up figures that you guys are like, oh, that sounds like a good number. Like, we could specifically go to a specific church, a church planter, go to the place and count and see the number of people and be like, yep, this is exactly what was reported. So there is just a confidence knowing that what we're giving towards is not just some made-up number. Like, these are legitimate people and churches that are being reached, and it's a pretty incredible thing to be a part of.
Yeah, that's one of the many reasons. For us, I think I have my missions pastor from Three Circle with me here and all the way up. I mean, one of the big things we're talking about right now is stewarding the resources God's given us. One of the brothers at our table was saying earlier, he said, I love the line. I think he said, a resource can go where we can't. And I thought that was a great line. But we have a trust with our people that they're able to go, hey, are the dollars going? Are they doing what they need to do? And what we love about you guys is the abundance of information, feedback. And honestly, we're right now as an organization, as a church, we're going, man, we've had a lot of resources going out there. And frankly, we have some that just don't give us enough information back. And one thing I can tell you about Doulos, they're going to give you, you're going to know where it's going. You're going to know right where it's going. And that gives us, to your point, Pastor Kenneth, this amazing confidence. When we look at our people to go, we know what this partnership is all about.
For us, when we look at our missions philosophy, we typically focus on individual places and individual relationships rather than more of a scattershot approach. We really like and invest in long-term partnerships in very particular places, but that necessarily means that we're not getting kind of the broad scope. Doulos kind of fills that gap for us, but we don't want to abandon our philosophy of saying, well, why do we really focus on specific places and specific people? And it's because of the relationships. And you mentioned that as one of your things of saying, we have this relationship with these people. Doulos gives us that, where we have the relationship with you and you're giving us all of that feedback from the field, but it actually gives us that individual relationship with the people on the ground and in these organizations in a broad swath that we couldn't just get just by saying, hey, let's send a check somewhere, where we wouldn't know what it's going for, we wouldn't know what it's doing, we're not going to get the reporting back. I'm going to get all of that, and I still get to value that individual relationship. So when our people ask, are we sure this is happening? I'm telling the stories that you're telling us because you've been there, and that is very valuable.
And let me build on that, because I think one of the things I'm grateful for is that I could easily pick up my phone, and I can call Malad, Brian, David, and say, guys, what's happening here? And you guys can quickly give me all the stories, the facts, the details. There's a relationship here. And that's one of the things I'm really grateful for as well, is it's not just some big entity that's out in the distance that we send dollars to, although I'm grateful for those. But there is a relationship component here where we're like, man, I can call you and have access to be able to go back to my people and say, let me tell you what your money gave to this week and how the gospel's going forth in these parts of the world. And I say it almost every week, and you hear that. Yes. Church, when you give, you're reaching people all over the world with the gospel. And being able to have those stories is such a gift, because I think it becomes a multiplier of the impact that God's doing.
I appreciate that. It's been fun, whenever we send out a story, you're always quick to call me and say, David, is this something I can share with the church? I'll go like, we can, but we can't, don't mention the country, don't make this name or whatever, because we're online and things like that. So I'm glad that that's helpful, and I'm always excited to hear those stories and I know you guys tell it to your congregations too, so that's great. So one of the things that Brian mentioned that, is something that we have, answered questions a lot about over the years is why indigenous. As a matter of fact, I got to co-write a book back in 2018, and chapter 1, or chapter 3 is why indigenous. And there's always this beautiful conversation between the Western missionary and the indigenous leader. And, so how do you guys sort of navigate that? What are your kind of thoughts about Western missionary? And I would really love, and I can certainly talk about that too, but I really love to kind of get y'all's feeling about, how do you guys walk through that in your mind of go, how do we support our Western missionaries well? And yet, how do we also get in a lane that really runs hard with the indigenous, and what is it that's strong about working with the indigenous in those environments? Yeah.
Well, I would just say that I think that often we create unneeded dichotomies, okay? Like, I don't think they're opposed to each other. You can maximize one thing and not minimize the other. And so to me, we need all the missionaries, right? I mean, this is too big of a mission that we have. We need everybody to go do their thing. But it's okay for me to go, but that one works better, or more effectively. So the truth is, we all know that a Western missionary going into another place is going to take years of prep, language, culture, the whole deal. And just the urgency requires us to keep doing that. But when we have something like what you guys are doing that so clearly works, I think that we have to get involved on both sides of that.
That's good.
I agree with that. I think we know that we need everybody. I think what I love about what y'all are doing is the cooperation factor. I don't know if y'all are seeing this, but post-COVID, I have so many more relationships with other pastors in Birmingham. We kind of banded together to survive, and we needed it, and it kind of broke down a lot of barriers that, for whatever reason, were there before that. That has led to a lot better ministry. We pray for each other better. We do a lot more after the fact. I think you guys have been pioneers in that, of kind of breaking down that dichotomy, of saying, hey, we need both. And sometimes as Western missionaries are the spark, if the goal is to have a church in every village, we're not going to have a Western pastor in every village. You're going to have indigenous people running that and helping it to grow. That's the vision. So we have to have the indigenous to make this run. It's not about, claiming credit for it. It's about getting the gospel out there. And so I think it is a both and. This allows us to do that. And I've always loved with Doulos, we're not just investing in one group. You've got your 7 groups. I remember when it was 3. And it's grown over time. But to say, hey, these groups are vetted. They are doing the work. These are worth investing in. Hey, let's collaborate. Let's partner to get this done. I've always loved that, so that we can do both.
Yeah, that's good. Well, one of the things that we have found over time is that the way the Western missionary is working more efficiently and effectively in the world than ever before is through training and coaching. And so where we're really seeing strength in the Western missionary team, for instance, we were kind of slow to the table with E3, one of our partners, because they have so many Western missionaries in the field. And we were a little slow to that table until we started going like, okay, well, first of all, they're raising their own support, which was important to us. And not only that, but they're not the ones who's actively out in the villages, sharing the gospel, seeing people come to faith in Christ, planting the churches. They're coaching and come alongside the indigenous leaders, and we're seeing that as a very positive thing that's happening in the field. So thank you for that. So I know that, obviously you guys have been around us a lot, and we've had lots of conversations. And you've heard Achieve, you've heard Coalition, you've heard iShare. Let me clear up one thing. You may go like, wait a minute, there's 7 ministry partners in the book, and Brian talked about 30 sending agencies that are part of the Coalition. Let me tell you that all 7 of our partners are members of the Coalition. All Coalition members are not a part of the Doulos partnership team at this point. But we will only move forward with ministries that are a part of the Coalition that we consider future partners, and we will only move forward with partners that are mapping. As a matter of fact, we have actually added mapping as a core value. So mapping, evangelism, discipleship, and church planting. How in the world can we finish the task of a church in every village everywhere when everyone's not willing to participate in the mapping, so we can know where the gaps are and we can attack that? So I would love for you guys just to sort of tell the guys about, how has Achieve, how has it all being about a healthy, sustainable, reproducing church in every village everywhere, and how has the technology piece, and how has all of that coming together, how has that enhanced or grown or changed your thinking as it relates to the mission space?
I think, again, I believe that we only have so much time. And I'm looking at the mission that we're all given, the Acts 1:8 mission. Our church is built on that mission. And so, but when I look at it, I can, you can see your backyard. You can see Jerusalem, and you can kind of get your hands around Judea, Samaria, regional, and however you want to define those things. But the global mission is overwhelming. It just is. So again, the coalition part, I think, is not only biblical, it is necessary that we go, man, we can't do this alone. We all need each other to pull this off, but pull it off we must. It's got to be a part of what we're doing. And so we just go with we know we can't do everything, we must do something. And when it comes to that something, we want to get it right. We want to go, okay, what's the best way to do that? So I just think if Peter and Paul were here today, they're using AI and everything they can to advance the mission, right? And so I love the fact that you guys are so committed to effectiveness and urgency that it's become a value. Something new has risen up to go, that mapping thing is so important, it's a value now. And that's something we don't have time to vet all that, right? You're doing all that for us. So it's huge.
And to that, David, for me, yes and amen to everything you just said. I think to put feet to that is stories I hear of pastors in the 1040 window who are losing their lives. Okay, young men who graduate from church planting school and their gift is a bicycle that helps them get the gospel even farther. And some of these guys, many of them don't even make it to graduation because they're killed for their faith. I mean, I don't want to put numbers out there that aren't accurate, but you mentioned one time in Pakistan, was it 50 church planters who were killed?
It was like
Afghanistan. My goodness. So 500 church planters, Afghanistan. Since the Taliban takeover. These are brothers in arms who love Jesus, who are husbands and fathers and pastors, and they're counting the cost. And I'm like, put me supporting those guys, where mission is not just something you put on a wall, it's something they're willing to put their life down for. And so what I'm grateful for is exactly what Chris just said, but I think of it in regards to the actual people and the stories that I'm hearing, and I'm like, man, let's be a part of that.
I don't know if this happened for you, but I've had multiple points in my ministry where I thought I was doing a whole lot more good than I really was, because it felt good in the moment. It was a cool story. It was a great moment, and it was great. But if I step back, it would be, okay, that was a great story, but are we really moving the needle? Like, are we actually reaching our communities? Are we really actually reaching our city? And it might be that we've got a couple great stories, but we aren't. The mapping piece was very interesting, and then it actually let us know, are we moving the needle or not? I agree with what you said earlier. I would absolutely have thought that we are getting more global access because of just technology and everything else. And to find out that we're not, okay, that was helpful. Yeah, concerning, but helpful that we actually know it. We had Chris Clayman from the Joshua Project in our church a few months ago, and he was showing us some of these things. He's one of the groups actually doing the technology for it and just putting those pieces together, that the technology is actually part of the mission. And like, we actually need that to get the mission done. And again, this goes into the coalition of the willing. It's not just about the one story. It's about being a part of the grand movement. And I think we're all a part of that. This gave us an avenue to do that. And you're doing the work for us. And we don't have time to vet everything. We don't have time to vet all these things. You're doing that for us. And man, that is very helpful. And something we have always valued, and that's why we're thankful partners to be working with y'all.
Just to give you a real life example, because I'll pause here for just a minute for a story. And so when I was in Togo, just the fact that all the data had been collected, two things actually happened. I was at a training center, and so they have a master trainer, Paul, Timothy, Titus system. And a matter of fact, Caleb Reed was with us from MG&A on that trip, and he'll be able to attest to both of these stories because he was standing next to me. And so this Paul had 20 Timothys, probably 25 Timothys that were in training. And I asked this brother, I said, so do you have your district map somewhere that you could show us? He said, well, of course. He goes over to his backpack. He pulls out the map that literally had his map on it. I took a picture of it. And so here he is. Yes, this is our region, and we're attacking this region. So the next day or the 2 days after that, we went out to prayer walk a red village. Now, how about that? You go out to a village that you know there's no Christian and no church. To the best of our knowledge and ability, we know that's true. So we go out and we're prayer walking. We come up into a yard, and there's a lady and her two daughters in the yard. We start sharing with them. She says, wait a minute, let me get my husband and my other child. And so they come out, and there's 5 of them. And so we get to start talking to them. I've always wanted to share the 3-circle gospel story in the dirt. That's 3-circle, yeah, that's exactly right. So anyway, the husband had come out, and he was a pretty large Togolese man, larger than what you normally see. There was a stick laying on the ground behind him. And I said, could I borrow your stick? And he looked at me like, what are you going to do? You're going to hit me with the stick or whatever? I didn't know it was here. So he handed me the stick, and I got to use the three-circle, method to share the gospel. And those 5 prayed to receive Christ. What I didn't know was that Caleb had kind of moved to the back too, like 15-year-olds had come up, younger. They came up and prayed to receive Christ. So 7 people came to faith in Christ. We're walking back to the van, and I look over, and the church planter is over there on his phone. And he looks at me and he says, Pastor David, that village just went from red to yellow. In that moment, in real time, that data was uploaded into the back end of iShare. About 3 months later, Jared Nelms sent me a text, who's the president and CEO of TTI, who's within the field. He said, I got some message from one of our guys in Togo, said, please tell Pastor David that village is now green. So that's the kind of real-time work. That's the kind of targets. That's what we've never had before. I was on a panel just like this about a year ago, and I was asked the question, David, what have you seen that's moving the needle more in the mission space than anything else? And Brian said it's the collision between boots on the ground and technology. It's happening, and it is, I believe, going to be the way that the Lord continues to move us forward. So the next question is a 2-part question, and so you guys can take some of it, none of it, all of it. So the first would be, how much value do you see in churches working together? And how could you see a church collective like this, which we've never really done anything like this in Doulos? This would be very different because, quite frankly and unfortunately, we live in silo world. Would you guys agree with me about that? I can tell you nonprofits live in silo world. That's what's been the most amazing thing for me in working with COTW is that there are 30 ministries who've said, hey, we're going to work together. We're going to get this done. I've been in the rooms with the CEOs, and I have felt the move of God in these CEOs that says, hey, man, we've got to get it done, and they're going after it. So kind of brainstorm with us a minute. Just kind of go like, okay, how important is it for churches to work together, which you talked about that a little bit, Adam. And then, how could we as a collective of churches kind of work together in a bigger picture for Doulos?
Well, I'll say this. I think to our pastors in the room, we can all agree ministry is lonely. And it's really stinking hard. So finding co-laborers, just being in the room together, honestly, it kind of feels like a wedding to me right now because I know so many of you are my friends, and I'm like, you're dead wrong on baptism, but you're like one of my best friends, and I'm just so grateful for you. But like having that kind of camaraderie and brotherhood is such a gift. It helps produce longevity in ministry and makes a long obedience in the same direction more full of joy. Simultaneously, it is such a gift to do it with guys whom you love and you get to learn from. So the reality is this. I'm not going to speak for David or for Brian, but the vast majority of Doulos' income comes from private business donors. Is that accurate? That's right. So CEOs of major corporations hear the vision from this team and they're like, I'm in. And they'll write very large checks. David probably would not agree with this statement, but Doulos does not need the church to financially be effective. But I'm grateful that we as a church get to be a part of it. And so one of the things I'm grateful for is times like this in which we get to break bread together. But I brought you here today because I genuinely believe in this. Now, as a Southern Baptist pastor, we give to the Cooperative Program and the International Mission Board and North American Mission Board, et cetera. We give to those things. But we also give to Doulos because I believe that what they're doing is so vital to fulfillment of the Great Commission. And so I think getting to do it together with other churches is a gift, and it creates a brotherhood that I think is such a gift that helps all of us persevere in the faith and in the ministry together.
man, I'm not big on it. Just churches working together. It's just, man, I just don't know how to do it any other way. I think it grieves our Lord that that we ever are competitive in that way or siloed. Not only for the effectiveness, the ineffectiveness of that, but even just the spirit of it. One of my heroes, R.C. Sproul, said this one time. He said, churches should have fences when it comes to denominations and belief. Yeah, we have fences, but he said you need to build them really low so that you can still reach across the fence and join hands with one another on the things we do totally agree on. And I just don't know a church that believes in Jesus and the Bible and the gospel that doesn't understand that we got to reach people and that we only have a certain amount of time. And so to me, we can all agree on that. And you guys are in that space. So for me, it is so fun to know that, like, when you come to our area of the state, I can grab every pastor I know that loves Jesus and get them in this room, and they could jump on board with what you're doing. That's a really cool thing to be able to celebrate. So.
I would just echo all of that. I mean, I think anytime we're collaborating with one another, that's not only good for the kingdom, it's good for our churches. It's good for our churches to see that kind of cooperation, and that we can. I mean, we're modeling for other people. We can disagree on negotiables, and we can still get a lot of work done. And like, why wouldn't we? I mean, and that's a picture to our people of how we ought to do that. And look, when we're talking about a collection, even just of churches here in Birmingham, I think that's important to be able to show our people, hey, Birmingham is doing something in the world collectively, regardless of whether we're doing IMB or the other organizations. Hey, there's something we're all doing together in partnering with Doulos that's having this kind of impact. I mean, it's something everybody gets to share in. It's not a single church that's trying to claim credit for that. We all get to share it. It binds us together, and that's just helpful for the kingdom as a whole.
That's really good. I appreciate that. You know, one of the things that we do at Doulos is we don't take big trips to the field, because so many places that we go, we don't need to have attention called to us. And it's never a problem for us who are there while we're there. It's always for the indigenous leaders after we leave. So typically we go in the size of one van. So we're not going to take any more than what can fit in one van. But what I have just so enjoyed is when we have a church who sends a person from Tennessee and a person who sends someone from a church in Georgia, someone who sends a church in Alabama and someone from Florida and someone from Texas, and all of a sudden you've got 8 followers of Jesus all coming from different churches. And y'all, there is a unity that Jesus prayed for, as you guys know, in John 17. There is a unity and a unifying when you're in the field together with brothers who are from all over the place. And so that's something that I just absolutely love, to bring the church together in that way. So I wanted to just sort of share that with you. I want to, we've got about 7 minutes before we sort of need to hand the mic over to Milad, and he's going to talk more about what this collective could look like. We'd love to see this collective. I don't want to steal any of his his time with you, but certainly would love to be able to come to the place where we share. I mean, he said our churches, so right now we have 17 church partners, 17. And those 17 churches, through their investments, we saw 1,200 churches planted. What I would love to be able to do is to continue to share, communicate with you guys who are a part of the church collective, and let's even pray about setting some goals for churches that we'd be able to, as a collective, to be able to plant for the next year. So he's going to talk a little bit more about that. But I thought you might have a question for one of these guys as you kind of sat here and listen, or for me, or for Brian, or whatever. Do you have any questions or observations from what you've heard?
Yeah, we've got that one down, man. No, you know what? I just think you don't want your people's spiritual muscle to atrophy, right? And we talk about, I just think, we use our geography as part of our language because Mobile Bay, where we are, it's all, just like you guys do with certain hills and mountains around here, whatever. So for us, it's across the bay. So we had a mantra for a long time. When I came to our church, we were very missional, but it was just 40 miles wide and nothing was more than about that deep. I mean, it's just no reporting, money going all over the place, and I just couldn't figure out what was happening. I saw no needles moving. And then we really weren't doing anything outside of, we weren't doing what I would consider regional. So we were based on the Eastern Shore, and basically I just started trying to beat down the door of going, guys, we have a stewardship problem here. It looks good. It sounds good to go, we gave this much money away to this many people. I'm like, what did they do with it? Who are these people? And no one can answer those questions. So we've been, what I would say is that's one thing we've tried to do. Because if I'm going to go to our people and say, we're going to make this a really big deal, I need information. And I need dependable, trustworthy information. It's a trust we have with those people. So, and then the next thing I would say is now that we have whittled that down, and we've got organizations like Doulos and a few others. Doulos is our main international organization that we work with. And we're able to look at our people and go, we understand we can't all get on planes and go to all these places. We have an organization that's doing that for us. And that's just huge. But we keep it in front of our people. We're constantly, I don't want it to be forgotten. I want them to know that we are a three-circle church, if you will. It's our name, but we're trying to live that out. We are not just going to be Fairhope, Eastern Shore. We're going to go across the bay to Mobile and do what we do there, and we're going to go across the world. And the way we go across the world is with Doulos. And so to me, keeping that in front of our people keeps them, because we all know all of your people at their core, they're local. What's in it for me? It's just human nature. How are we going to, what's going to be good for my kids? How's the kids' ministry? My kids in there, right? They just think that way. I think that way. I can't just get mad at them. So we as leaders have to constantly peel that myopic nature of our people out to the world, keep it in front of them. So I hope I'm answering your question, but that's that stretching that muscle that we constantly try to do. If not, it will atrophy. It just will. Yes. Yep. Of having a heart for people that don't know the gospel. So I'm thinking right. People can visualize the map, and it's not just words, but I'm seeing something that says totally. These people that don't know Christ, it can just increase that compassion and hunger. Right. I agree, and I would say too. I'm sorry. Just one thing about this is this new technology for me. When I see it going yellow and then green, I think it's going to be huge for our people, because if you're like me, I start hearing all the numbers that just glaze over, and I'm in it. I'm in this. This is what I do. So my buddy who's the welder at Austell in Mobile Bay, he hears it and he's really glazing over, But you can look at that map, and I get juiced about that. I see what's happening. Oh, the white we don't even know, and I just I can't wait to unleash this to our people, because I think it's going to be a new day of engagement with global missions, because we can actually see what we're doing. That's good.
Absolutely. The one thing that I have seen is I would bring the indigenous to your church. I think we've always done a good job bringing the Western missionaries back to tell us stories. Bring the indigenous back to your church. You got to let them build a relationship with real people who are telling the stories. I'm on the field. This is what I'm seeing. And then when people get connected, they're always more than numbers. They're going to connect to a person. They're going to connect to a story. And when people see a brother or sister and they love that person, then bring them back again the next year and tell more stories. And you start building relationships. Your people, they see it. They can't ignore it anymore. You've put it right in front of them. When we do that with our people, they talk about it all year. And then when those people come back, they're like friends now. And so now they've got a heart for a particular place. And then from there, you can expand it to all these other places as well.
It's good. Yeah, it's completely. It's good. Yeah.
Good question. Thanks. Any other questions? Please feel free. Well, let me just say, guys, and for all of you, this goes for all of you, man, thank you for the time that you've given us. Milad's going to head this way. And would you guys show appreciation for these guys doing this with us? Thank you so much. And because I know how busy you guys are. And so that goes for all of you in the room. So thank you for that.
let's consider who's missing from the conversation. Look around. I would love to fill this room again with 12 more tables. So if you're part of this collective, keep giving. Give more if you can. I think more importantly, get more people to the table. God delights in that. Can you commit to bringing 2 more churches? I'm giving you a full year to get it done. And then let's meet. Let's keep talking. This has changed my life.